Alright, so this is Physics Today travel vlog. First we have physics principles. The first example is transportation. This comes from me flying to my destination, and once landed, the transportation can come in the form of walking, a car, and a bike. The second example is communication. Talking with the locals to find out information of places to eat or sights to see. Communication can also take place by me calling home to check in with family or friends. Communication can also come in nonverbal forms such as hand gestures and facial expressions. Scientific method and modern physical problems. With the ever-changing conditions and the weather patterns, there is a chance that a storm could hit my destination. Depending on the strength, it could cause damage to locals' property and even mine, as well as harm individuals, including myself. It could also postpone the rate in which I may get back home if something were to happen. Classical physics principles. An example of this would be to have the plane descending from flight without the engines to keep the plane in flight. The plane would fall according to gravity. According to Galileo, an item is able to fall regardless of its shape or size. Next, Newton's principle inertia, which means every object continues in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a right line unless it is compelled to change that state by forces impressed upon it. In the trip that I will take, this would imply that the plane would be in rest until we were ready for takeoff, and once we were landed, the plane would be back in the same state of rest as it was when we left. Gravity can also take place in my trip for flying and also just walking around in general. Gravity keeps the plane from going into space, while the engines keep it from crashing into the earth, whereas when I am walking, it keeps me on the ground and not from floating everywhere else. Next, we have physics and real-world scenarios. As mentioned earlier, communication and transportation are two big factors in traveling when including physics. Communication comes into play a couple of ways, such as learning about new places at my destination, as well as communicating to get my ticket and get from place to place. Transportation comes into play by flying to my destination and getting from one place to the other before, during, and after my trip. Physics and modern technology. This ties in with a theory of relativity and motion. We are constantly in motion due to the Earth circling around the sun all day, every day. So even though we may not feel that we are moving, if we look at the sky over a period of time, we can notice a difference. So while it may not seem like the plane is moving, if we look at the ground, we can see that it is. We are also unaware as to how fast we are moving. Another example would be while I was traveling in a car after landing, I would be experiencing an absolute reference frame. This takes place by sitting in a vehicle or anything that is moving with me rather than against me. Then finally, we have technology that uses physics. A technology that always catches my attention when I think of physics is smartphones, which uses quantum mechanics. Semiconductor-based electronics rely upon the structure of a solid object. This is quantum phenomenon, but can depend on the nature of the wave that the electrons may have and is then able to manipulate the properties that is in silicon. All the information that we have learned has been based upon combining certain materials and elements and how they can change the band structure and conductivity. This all brings us to our trusted cell phones that we can't live without. Thank you.